Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Once again, thank you for joining us uh, with our weekly continuation of our growth and development and getting an insight into the interpreting what's going on around us, trying to make sense of that which is now so obvious, that there is so much confusion with so many people. There are so much confusion and concern uh, in different ways, that to make sense is a way of finding peace. It's a way of discovering a respite from the confusion. So in Britain, many people experienced over the last few week or so, you found that some of your favorite social media sites all of a sudden disappeared. And we found that um, we were certainly struck by this crisis that emerged from nowhere to do with the petrol crisis. And that doesn't mean that there isn't a crisis. It just simply means that the petrol crisis was simply one of the events that took place over the last 2 weeks. And now there are little insights coming through regarding the tensions that are building up from the far shores towards China, Taiwan, where there are words of war being exchanged. So we begin to recognize and see how the pressure has been systematically increased in individuals and upon individuals as we've moved along, by first incentivizing them. Come and do this and everything will be fine. You can go on holidays. Come and take the juice and you'll go on holiday. And that didn't work. Come and take the juice and you'll be protected. That didn't work. Come and take the juice and you can go to nightclubs. That didn't work. Come and take the juice, or we will now not allow you to visit certain place. That's being questioned. We are going to give the juice to children under the age of 12 or up to the age of 12. Again, that's found its own resistance. Now it's getting to the point with no job, no juice, no job. Again, the pressure is being applied. The pressure is being applied. And there are two kind of scenarios that are unfolding here. One is this increasing pressure that is being applied with more and more severity, with increasing restrictions, with increasing authority. And on the other side, there is more and more resistance. So, for example, as we said a year ago or so, that the situation from fear will transform into anger, and then from anger, it'll transform into rage. And we are starting to now hear that in certain parts of the world, I hear in the USA, this has been a bit more evident, or in the news, and in places like in Colombia as well, where those who have administered the juice are now being targeted by individuals who've lost loved ones as a result of the juice itself. So this vengeance, or this reaction, or this response to the administrators who were just simply following the orders is coming to roost, or it's starting now to become apparent, if you know where to look at. So you can begin to recognize little spurts of rage where people are consumed, or individuals are consumed by either fear or by the anger, and how this then translates into behavior and other things. So one of the areas that I wanted to look at was to, one, recognize that humanity is being fed upon by a let's give it an identity that's parasitic. And this identity that's parasitic is a parasite, has many tentacles. Part of the tentacles are the pharmaceutical industry. Part of the tentacles are the governments that are sponsored, the parties that are sponsored by the corporation, those that deal in disaster and death capitalism, where the bigger the disaster, the more money one can make out of it. As you can see right now with the current situation, as the disaster has become global, there is more money to be made. And short of the juice to keep you safe, which it doesn't, that now there are talks that you may need to have one every 2 months. Well, who do you think is going to pay for this? Who do you think is going to pay for this? And it's at one level quite sad, and to see how individuals are so easily misled simply by using the right words. Um, and at the same time, the division that's starting to happen within communities and individuals, where there is this difference of opinion. And upon all of this, there is then all these other external threats which are then being compounded, leading to mental health issues, leading to emotional health issues, leading to survival, leading to despair, leading to suicide, leading to domestic increase in violence, in domestic violence, increase in substance abuse. So this is making humanity ill. This is making humanity sick. And we appear, when I see around, to be walking into those elements of activity which increase the human sickness. So it's sad to see the consequences of what is happening, how in a year and a half, how normality and freedom has been completely eroded, and a way of acceptance of the constant coercion and restriction on life, on work, on being able to feed one family unless you take the poison, is you've got to ask yourself the question that the leaders and the politicians and those who are enforcing this, whose health are they really enforcing this for? And if we can't see it, then, as I explained to one of my colleagues, is consciousness is currently cleaning itself of ignorance. It's cleaning itself of ignorance. That's how consciousness evolves. Ignorance is removed. We've moved from Pisces into Aquarius. Ignorance is being removed. And as ignorance is being removed, we are beginning to see all that we didn't see a few years ago. How the whole thing is insidious, how the pharmaceutical, as you've seen in Australia, the number of their senior politicians are now resigning because of um, grants from pharmaceutical companies. So if you can't see how the system works at your expense, then that ignorance is being shown. We are being made aware of our ignorance, that look, this is how it works. Now, those who have ignorantly taken the juice, and the consequences is whatever the consequences for them, consciousness will be removed of that ignorance. If those who haven't taken the juice, the poison, and as a result, it is their ignorance that made them take that decision, then that too will, over time, remove the ignorance. So, overall, consciousness, call it divine orchestration, call it the way things are, is moving towards removing ignorance from its collective space. And this ignorance is not just internal ignorance, but it's also those systems that we have been ignorant about. those systems that have kept us locked within a particular way of living, which has done nothing more than harvest the human being in wars to feed the parasite. All these wars that took place, World War II, a generation not so long ago could remember that, and the atrocities that were committed against individuals and indigenous communities by the chambers. We all know that. Yet here we see the same system being repeated, but on a new generation that has no understanding of what it meant to go through the hardship. So the parasite uses these systems, these proxy spaces, to create division in order to ensure that one, humanity is always kept in control to the 2030 agenda, the United Nations. You will see that the goal is to reduce the population. So, it's everyone's being, it's being told, but because we are ignorant of where this information lies, we don't see it. We don't see it. So now, soon, well, it's only a matter of weeks, or if not months, where the humanity will become a lot more awake to the plight of it, in terms of the threat it is under and the consequences of some of the actions that were taken in ignorance. Last year, remember, bringing the 2 weeks, we only need 2 weeks to bring the curve down. Remember that? Well, that was actions taken in ignorance. And those actions are now showing us the consequences that you cannot even go to work without being biologically raped, without your consent, coerced. And if we are unable to see that, and we still believe it is for your health, my friends, all I will say is you cannot escape death. You cannot escape death. And to live in fear is to be dead while you were supposed to be alive and have missed the opportunity to know life for what it is and to live in your own psychodrama of fear. Going to die anyway. This is the nature of life. Life has a break. That break is called death, and it's a continuum. And because we are being conditioned into this idea of this separated soul from God and all that rubbish, nonsense, the human ego feels fragile. So it's desperately looking for things to cling on to. But this reality too is going to be dismantled. All systems dismantled, and that includes the religious systems. We all heard, how much confidence can you have in a church that systematically abuses children? As the 330,000 children victims were identified in France a couple of weeks ago. So you can see systems are no longer, those little control systems are no longer have your trust. This is our awakening. This is where the ignorance is falling. And in this, there are groups of individuals who are able to see this. And yes, it's difficult to reconcile, but it's okay. Over time, this will happen and it will ease. However, there's a whole group who cannot face this reality, because if this is true, then they made the wrong choice. And to know that I have made the wrong choice, that I cannot change, but you haven't and you were right, creates a great deal of fear, insecurity, and therefore there is this coercion by those who have taken the poison on those who haven't, because deep down inside the realization is, maybe this was perhaps a premature step, not enough was known, so on and so forth. But time will tell, as we've always said, time will tell, and everything is moving the way it's going to move, whether I or you like it or not. So, in conclusion, the month of October, the first week has been quite interesting, quite dynamic, lots of energy, lots of sudden shocks, electricity surprises, the change in the accessing social media. Even you will find some of your internet speed or your mobile connection aren't as robust as they used to be. Lebanon has gone into blackout, so you can see the pattern that's going to go around. Blackouts, draconian laws, inability to access your banks. So make sure that there is some cash at hand. Make sure that you have friends and family and people that you're connected with, because it's not love or vaccination or non-vaccination or COVID or anything like that that's going to bring humanity together. What's going to bring humanity together is suffering, is pain, it's the hardship that's going to bring humanity together. This is our common humanity that we all suffer. And that suffering is something that each and every one of us experiences in our own way. And that's what defines us as being human within this human life. And alleviate suffering is when we begin to look at how we can alleviate suffering for those that are around us and within us. And this is what we come back to again and again and again: meditation. Meditation, right meditation. And with this meditation, we begin to step out, we begin to go into that space of stillness. More importantly, we begin to disengage energetically, mentally, emotionally, and physically from the tentacles of the parasite, which comes to us through the news media, through the politicians, through your businesses, through your corporate destructive predatory capitalists, through the banks. They're probably the very belly of this parasite, the banks themselves and the money lenders, you know. But that's a whole new story. Okay, so I've got some wonderful friends. Alexandria, good to see you from France. Stefan, Push, everyone, thank you very much for joining us. And everyone else that's online, thank you very much for joining us. Okay, so we're going to go into a collective meditation again. And every time we collectively share that silence, we add a spark of light, we add an energetic spark, a fractal of light, which is a counterbalance to the current darkness that has enveloped humanity and the fear that humanity seems to be gripped in. So let us, through our own practice, add to that light of peace and tranquility. So as ever, eyes are closed, mouth is closed. Pull your back up. Pull your shoulders back. And as you breathe in, bringing your focus to your body as a whole, and just pull your head up. So imagine that your hair is being pulled upwards, and this aligns our head, our neck, and our spine. So the body feels erect, upright, sitting with confidence, not slouched and not rigid. And as you breathe in, bringing your focus to your body and sensing your posture. Notice how the body feels, and you can simply scan your body from the top to the bottom, from the bottom to the top. Just get a sense your body, just sensing your body as a whole. Your intention, why are you doing this? You are doing this to become present to your experience of life right this moment. Right this moment. This moment on this day, 10th of October, at this time, 20 past 6, UK, GMT. Exactly where are you within yourself? So, next breath in, you bring your focus towards your inner climate, your inner space. And by that I mean your thinking, your thoughts, your mental space within yourself. So you can get a note of how the mind feels. Do you feel drained? Do you feel tired? Does the mind feel exhausted? Does it feel anxious? Is it running to the stories about the future, what will happen tomorrow? Or is it hankering about the past? What's happened to my life? What's your mind doing right this moment? What's it thinking? What are your thoughts, if any? Give them time to show themselves. And then just moving your focus towards your chest and getting a insight into how you feel at this moment. Do you feel comfortable? Do you feel uncomfortable? Is this moment pleasant, absent of suffering, sukh? Is this moment unpleasant, suffering, or known as dukh? There are really just two feelings, sukh and dukh, for our purposes. Suffering and the absence of suffering. And here, suffering can be anxiety, it can be fear, it can be anger, it can be craving, it could be missing, it could be sadness, feeling low. How do you feel? Next breath in, bring your foot to the seat you're on and begin to notice that your body is supported. Your total body is supported. If you were to completely let go, you will notice that you are supported wherever you are. You are held in place. In fact, you're not just held in place, you're embodied, you are enclosed within this moment itself. And in this moment, the ground beneath you is the only ground that can support you. The breath that you breathe in can only be breathed from the air that's in front of you. And the breath that goes out can only go in the air that's in front of you. And the environment you're in, the air that wraps you, the temperature that holds you, the space that allows you to exist. And in this moment and the next moment, in fact, to say it's a moment itself is misleading. It's just simply nowness. It's not even now. It's a flowing of this moment. And you can notice how this moment flows for eternity simply by following the sound of this bell. Gently bringing your focus just beneath your nose, sitting with your breath, noticing the movement of the breath in and the breath out of your body. If you find that your focus has drifted from your breath from the bottom of your nose, you started thinking about something, or a sound has distracted you, notice the distraction. Bring your focus gently but firmly, planting it just beneath your nose, holding it there with a little bit of air to observe the movement of your breath. Stay with your breath. Moving your focus, following your out breath all the way till the end. And as you follow your out breath, allow your body to relax a bit further. Allow yourself to be pulled deeper and deeper, holding your focus on the breath, following your out breath all the way till the end. At the end, see if you can notice that gap. Hold your focus on your breath, moving deeper into this moment. Stay with your breath. Notice how your breath feels now. Begin to notice the length of your breath. Does it feel long? Does it feel short? feel light or does it feel heavy? Stay with your breath. Does it feel slow? Notice how the breath breathes by itself, where you're simply the watcher, the observer. Now, can you just observe the movement of your breath? But the sound as the breath comes in, goes out. Bring your focus to the sound of your breath as best as you can. Listening as intently as you can. Just the act of trying to listen to the breath allows you to become present. And our act of listening changes to listening in the present to presence in the moment. Listening is the presence. The presence that's aware that it's listening. Listening to the in-breath as it comes in, listening to the out-breath as it goes out. On your next breath out, opening your awareness to the sounds around you, begin to listen to all the sounds, noises that are around you. Try not to seek them out or judge them, comment on them, but simply listening. And with each bell, listening, allowing our awareness to merge with the silence at the end. Just listening. Allow the silence to penetrate your very being. Gently bringing your focus just beneath your nose and just sitting with your breath. Acknowledging your experience feels peaceful. Notice the peacefulness. If you feel still, notice the stillness. If you feel silent, notice the silence. On your next breath out, expanding your awareness to include your whole body. Bring your focus to the seat you're on. Notice you have sensations in your body, where your body makes contact with what you're sitting or lying on. Notice you can sense your thighs. From your knees, you can move your focus down to your ankles, feet, and soles of your feet. Bringing your focus back to the seat you're on, notice your back is straight and upright. Notice how still you feel. Shoulders, arms, hands are relaxed. Eyes are relaxed and closed. Mouth is closed and the face is soft and relaxed. Bringing your focus back to your breath. And now as you breathe in, you begin to breathe out, you sense your body. Hear the next bell. Use this bell to draw a few deep breaths in. Gently opening your eyes and bringing some of that peace back with you. Thank you very much. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.